Alright, let's talk about Melody Time, which is Disney's fifth package film from the 1940s whenever they didn't have enough funds to make full-length, one narrative stories. And out of all of these package films, I guess that this one is probably one of my least favorite out of all of them. I think I like it more than Saludos Amigos, though. I don't know about Three Caballeros, but out of the two music-oriented ones, Melody Time is the weaker one, because Make My Music, which I already talked about in another video, was way more interesting and had way more better shorts to me, with better music. And I feel like in this one, it's got a couple okay things about it, but in terms of Disney films that are forgettable, this one is really forgettable. But I'll talk about all the shorts though, and in detail. But I think that in terms of the Disney animated canon, this is definitely one of the weakest ones. It's not anything special. There's a couple moments where I'm like, okay, that's great, but overall, the good doesn't outweigh the boring for me in this one. And there are things I do like about it. I do like the idea of, like all of these package films for the most part, they use paint to create colors, like dripping paint where it creates an image. I think that's really cool. They do that in the opening for this with all the music interstitials. I think that's really cool, and I think that's really creative and something that just still holds up today in terms of the color, in terms of the animation style. I think that's really cool. And then I'll talk about the shorts. The first one is Once Upon a Wintertime, which is probably the most boring out of all of these shorts. It's just about a man and a woman who are falling in love on ice in the winter, with these woodland creatures following them, where they kind of get into weird shenanigans. And I thought that this was one of the most boring out of all of these shorts, because the animation in this one particularly didn't look that great. The characters didn't look that great. They looked really weird, and I think that this one is just one of the most boring ones. But I'm saving this for the last one, which I think is the most boring out of all of these. But Once Upon a Wintertime was really, really forgettable. And then we get Bumble Boogie, which is basically this bee being trapped with all these piano keys, and it's more fun than the first one, because this one is so high pitched and crazy with like how the music plays the beats with like the keys while the bee is being trapped in between this. So it's whacked out and it's really fun and crazy. And it's only like a minute long, but I liked it. I thought even though it was really short, it was better than the first short for me. And then we get my favorite one out of all of these, the one that stands out, which is Johnny Appleseed. And this one has a full narrative to it, even though it's really short, about this guy, Johnny Appleseed, who creates all these apple farms, and he shows like his life from whenever he was young to whenever he dies. And it was actually really interesting, and it actually has good music. And the song that he sings, The Lord is Good to Me, and So I Thank the Lord, that song I've heard somewhere else, like not in this movie. Like it feels like I've heard that in real life somewhere. That's not like it's something that like maybe sung at like a church or something. Like it sounds like something really familiar to me that I have heard outside of this movie. But it's a really catchy jingle. I like that song that he sings. And I really like how it follows this guy's life and just shows how he goes through doing this with the apple farm, and just showing how he covers a lot of these areas, and I think that it was just fun and entertaining. And the guardian angel that he had was fun too. He's a fun, nice character, and it works showing him from his early life to his death. And whenever he dies, I like the fact that he's like, I don't want to go, there's still apples to grow. And then the angel says to him, well, we need apple crops in heaven. And then so he follows him. And then I love the fact, which is a really, really beautiful image, shows the end where from heaven to the ground, like it's literally all clouds, but the clouds are made up of like apple trees, which is really a cool, beautiful image. And this short really stood out to the other ones. Out of all of them, this is the best one, I think, and it really stood out with the imagery and with the music and with the story and being a full narrative. this was the best one out of all of them. And it's a shame that none of these other ones really stood up to this one. Because after this, there's a lot of other ones that I'm just like, okay, these shorts aren't that good. But this one, I think, is the best one out of this film. And if it was like this more, then I would have liked it as much as Make Mine Music. But it doesn't. There's just a lot of shorts that are boring. And speaking of boring, let's talk about the next short, called Little Toot, which is something that only you would like probably if you were a little kid. But the Andrews sisters sing this song, which is cool, but this is very much just kid fare, and I hate to say that because Disney is for kids, but there are so many things in Disney that I could watch now as an adult and love, but this is one of the most like childish things like that I didn't care for. And I didn't grow up with this movie either as a kid, so that's probably why. But the Little Toot short is about a little tugboat who finds his place and saves the day, and like the Andrews sisters sing about it. Which I like the Andrews sisters, that's cool, they sing it, but the short is just so kiddish, and it's just bare bones, like, for little kids, and it's just something that didn't do it for me. It was really, really boring. And it had a narrative too, kind of like Johnny Appleseed, but not in the same way, not in a good way. It was just, for me, pointless and boring. And then we get this poetry short called Trees, which is just literally... It shows trees, it shows nature, but it's not anything different than something we've seen before, and just showing... It's more to show off the animation, but it doesn't do much to the overall thing. Like, the animation's fine, but all it does is it shows trees and nature, and I mean, that's a cool thing to do, but like this I felt like was just nothing. Like, that was just a boring, quick little segment. And then we get my second favorite one, which is the only other one that I liked in this short, or in this movie, was Blame It on the Samba, which brings back Donald and the parrot and the bird from Saludos Amigos and Three Caballeros. I like that. I like that they brought back these characters. That was really fun. And they brought back that woman from Three Caballeros, the woman who does the dance through the end of the movie. And at the end of that movie. And I like this one. This one was fun. It was colorful. It was imaginative. It was really fun. These characters are fun. It's fun just to see this group of three birds like together, and shows them just dance and have fun. And it's light fare, but I thought it was fun, like like Saludos Amigos and Three Caballeros. So that was a good addition, but it was really quick and short, so it wasn't long. But it's the only other one out of these shorts that I liked, like the Johnny Appleseed one. But that's pretty much all I can say about Blame It on the Samba, which was good. And then I'll talk about the last one, which is the one that I don't like that they ended on this one. I thought it was boring. So uninteresting. Pecos Bill, which, I don't know, the way it was made, it just feels like it's so slow, so uninteresting. For me personally. People might like the short a lot, but I didn't care for it. I thought it was super uninteresting. I thought there were weird live action bits that was so strange, and it was the longest short, I think, out of all of them, and it was so uninteresting, so boring. It just didn't do anything for me. And that's all the shorts, and that's literally the movie. It's just these shorts. But there's only two I liked. And like I said, Johnny Appleseed and Blame It on the Samba. Johnny Appleseed was really, really great. Blame It on the Samba was really fun and imaginative and really colorful. But every other short or segment were just nothing for me. They did nothing. And it's a shame because, like, I wish this was like Make Mine Music, where that one had, even though there were a couple of shorts I didn't like as much, that had more shorts I loved as opposed to this one where a lot of shorts I don't like. Or I think are boring in this one. So it sucks that there's not that many that I like in this one, but there are a few standout ones, like the two I mentioned. But the other ones are just boring or kid fare in a way where I didn't grow up with this film, so I don't have a nostalgia for it, and I don't have a connection to it. If I was a kid, maybe I would like this more, but I didn't grow up with Make My Music either, and I love that one a lot, so... This is just one that in the animated Disney canon, like, rankings, I'd say this is definitely one of the weakest ones. Not terrible, it's not the worst, it's got a few standout shorts, but overall it's just pretty forgettable.